Hey everybody, Cole here with Classic Mini DIY, and today we are going to be taking a break from the body and the shell and getting that all reassembled and jump back over to the engine and get this sucker pretty much fully assembled and ready to go into the car. You won't want to miss it. Stay tuned for that. Now, as I said, we are going to be jumping over to the engine today, and let me show you guys a few things about this engine that are really special. You probably can already see one big one on the side here, and I'm going to talk about what we're going to be tackling today on Classic Mini DIY. All right, so taking a look at this beautiful engine we have here, you guys might recognize some of it. This is the turbo engine that came out of my car before we started doing the whole respray and the Restomod. This was also the base for my supercharged build, but many things have changed on it since then. And I've gotten a ton of questions about what I'm doing, what's different about this engine than the previous version of it with the last turbo. Is the exhaust manifold better, worse? Like, why are you doing all of these changes? Well, to start off, let's talk about what we're looking at here. And that is an A-series block. This has forged Omega pistons with an 18cc dish. The cylinder head has been ported, polished, and the valves have been enlarged. All of the specs of this stuff is in the description below. All of that made to bring the engine down to a compression ratio of about 8.1, 8.2 to 1. Now, the reason we bring that compression ratio down is to support the use of a relatively large turbo. The turbo that we're going to be using on this build is a GBC20. That is a modern Garrett turbo. It's oil fed and oil cooled, which is very important. And we're using a equal length header system from Bagsport. Now you guys might remember I did have a Fusion Fab exhaust manifold and downpipe previously, and that kit I want to mention is absolutely awesome. Both Bagsport and Fusion Fabs make an excellent kit. Regardless of what you are doing with the rest of your engine, both of those guys make absolutely wonderful kits. The difference between this one and the previous one is the type of turbo it supports, and I wanted to reach out to some other Mini people and try out some new stuff. So previously I had a GT17 turbo, which is also a Garrett turbo, but I wanted to try one of these more modern ones and give it a shot, see how it performs on this A-series block. Now, the other bit that is a little bit different than your standard A-series is the belt drive system right over here. If you missed that video, I did a whole video on how to install that. This is from Kent Auto Developments in the UK. The link to that should have popped up in the corner just a minute ago, and I strongly recommend you go check that out because I talk about that at length over there. Now, all of this turbo pipe work and everything that you see here, this was not on the last episode, and I've been doing just some kind of like ad hoc mocking of different things on the engine, oil feeds, oil returns, breather pipes that are going to reach through here. All of these things are things that I've just been kind of messing around with back here. But I'm going to take all this stuff off, and we are going to get the final assembly of the engine done. We're going to get this off the stand and kind of get this more in a state where it's ready to go in the car. I'm really excited about this, but as you guys know, I have done a lot of engine builds on this channel. Everything from a Super 998 with a 1275 head on a 998 block, an original Cooper S engine, and everything kind of in between. So I'm not going to go too in-depth about the All right, with the gearbox reinstalled and the drop gear housing, it is time to approach the clutch. Now, this is a spot I want to take a moment and talk to you guys about something really cool that we've been working on, but that I'm going to be using on my car here. Now, if you don't recall, the first time I ran this engine with the turbo setup, I was running at about 208 foot-pounds of torque and 200 horsepower. That's a lot of power to put through a stock mini clutch. Now, there are different ways to approach this issue, but the kind of best way to do it in 2023 is a concept called an RTS clutch. And that's short for really a twin spring clutch. So what you can see here is a Verdo style clutch and flywheel. This was built up and made with two individual Verdo springs. That means that you have to get two Verdo clutch kits, take them apart, combine them, and put them back together into a single clutch unit. And as a result, you increase the holding power of your clutch disc and the whole clutch system by quite a bit. And what's cool about this is that when machined properly, you can bolt this straight up to a stock A-series, though you really wouldn't need it in a stock A-series, and bolt it up and run it. The pedal feel is a little bit stronger than your standard clutch, but something cool that we have just released here on Classic Mini DIY. I have partnered with a wonderful guy, Elliot, in the UK. He and AC Dodd, who you guys might be familiar with in the Mini community, are working all together with me to create and sell RTS clutches. Now, as I said, these things are made for high power and high torque. If you have a Mini that is a standard A-series, you probably don't need an RTS clutch. But if you're doing things like supercharging, turbocharging, maybe you're doing a twin overhead cam conversion and you're really pushing those power and torque figures, an RTS is something that you'll probably want to consider. These are available in two different strengths. One is our ultra high, strongest strength that you can actually get, and then one is a slightly pared down version, because while it does increase the holding power of that clutch disc, it's really important to balance that with how it feels on the pedal, because we don't want this to feel, unpleasant when we're riding or driving this around day to day. So those have officially dropped on the Classic Mini DIY store. And if that's something that sounds like something you might want, head over and check it out. These are really, really well done. First, they're hand assembled in the United Kingdom by Elliot. He takes apart two different clutches, gets your flywheel, gets everything all set up and mounted together. And then afterwards, that heads off to the Mini specialist, AC Dodd, and he takes it through his setup and balances, trims down the horns of the flywheel, and makes the pedal feel absolutely as best it possibly can with two spring setups like this. So I'm really excited about that. I just wanted to take a minute and talk about it. But for my setup here, the next step is to install this RTS clutch. We're gonna go ahead and put this splash guard down here. Flywheel side, beautiful. Now that little splash guard here was actually introduced on A+ engines, but you can use that on any engine. Little tip for you. And we're gonna go ahead and put this flywheel back on the car here. I've got my engine set at top dead center just to help me kind of line this up, because this little line right here is slightly offset. So we're gonna wanna make sure that we line that up with the flywheel. And this is something that really likes to pinch your fingers, so be careful. Slide that puppy on. Now, something else that you might have seen pop up on my store recently is a breather takeoff for this crankcase breather on the drop gear housing. Now from factory, there is a canister breather. So you have your canister here with like wire mesh in it, and then a takeoff on the top that goes off to wherever you want it to go. With a performance engine like this, I want this hole to be breathing as much as it possibly can. And in my setup, I use my rocker cover as an oil separator. This is a pretty common thing to do. I am supplementing it by using AN fittings, so I welded on an AN fitting here. I've got some on the other side, and then I'm supplementing it with this little unit from HEL Performance. This is something they made up specifically for the Classic Mini that I carry on my store. Essentially, this is a breather takeoff here, so you can fit an AN fitting, whether it's 8, 10, 12. You can set up whatever size AN fitting you want. In my case, it's going to go from here to here. It's going to kind of snake its way through all of the pipe work of the turbo. But we're going to go ahead and install this, and if you guys want to pick one up, they come in a few different colors available in my store. Hey folks, sorry for the interruption. I wanted to take a quick minute and talk to you guys about today's episode sponsor, and that is Vever. They have sent a huge toolkit over to me. This is a complete tool set with every metric and standard SAE socket and wrench that you could possibly need, all in this small compartment right here. Each one of these trays has a ton of tools in it, and it's all in this little compact container. Vever is a tool company that produces what they call tough tools for half the price. You've probably seen their company pop up here and there all over the internet, and these tools do a great job at an excellent price point. They carry everything from tool sets like this to air compressors to pressure washers to literally everything you could possibly think of. And if you guys need tools and you're looking for something strong and reliable, head over to Vever's website and check out their huge product lineup. I know that this toolkit is going to be an excellent addition for my truck, especially when we go on trips with the Mini. This has every tool that I'd really need in order to reliably work on the car if I had to fix something in an emergency, and it's all easy, compact, and it's not going to get in the way. So, thanks so much to Vever. I appreciate you guys sponsoring this episode, and without further ado, I'm going to return you guys back to your regularly scheduled programming. All right, so in the same vein as the RTS Clutch, there has been an issue, not in the Mini community exactly, but with the later style Verdo clutch setups. Earlier setups, the pre-Verdo, you could get really nice upgraded arms to handle the additional force that's being pressed on your pedal when you're using a high power clutch. Because what would happen over time is those arms would fatigue, wear out, especially the ball at the bottom. But this was an issue that wasn't solved in the Verdo style clutch setup until recently. So enter MED. Well, they decided after a lot of engineering to create essentially what they've already created, the high strength pre-Verdo setup. They took that, adopted it to the Verdo style setup, and now you can get a fully upgraded arm with an upgraded ball, which is the most important part. There are still upgraded versions that upgrade this top half, but don't do anything with the ball, and that is what is arguably the most important part. All right, so taking a closer look, you can see this is your standard style arm. This is what was on my car previously, and this is your uprated version from MED. Now these are available on MED's site or on Mini Spares. They're both the same one. So if you want to pick one up, you can do that, but you can see they're much, much thicker, much more reinforced, and this is going to be able to handle the additional spring force from the RTS Clutch. Now, when you order the kit from them, it does come with the plunger because it is specific to this style of clutch arm here. So this will go in one way here. I'll lose my mind. So this is going to go in here, but first we need to take our old plunger and take the throwout bearing off of it, and that's just held on these Verdo setups with just a little rubber ring there. Quite easy to disconnect, just get yourself a little metal pick. Don't want to break the rubber ring, but it's nothing special, it's just a simple rubber ring. This comes out, you take this, place it on your new throwout bearing, and go ahead and put that rubber ring on that one, and now you've got a brand new throwout bearing. This then goes through from the back side into your walk here. We're going to go ahead and put our arm in, something like this. Now the kit will come with a pin for the joint on the actual walk, but you are going to need to reuse your pin on the upper side because the kit does not come with one of those. Something to keep in mind. And then we're going to slide this pin in, give it a good press, that'll go through. Take our washer that came with the kit, go ahead and set it on this side, and go ahead and put our R-clip in nice and tight there. Beautiful. So that's in place. The only other thing we need to do is just get the pin and this plunger off of the old kit here so that we can reuse it here. That's going to go right in here, just like that. and that will get held on with an R-clip as well. Now you're welcome to use cotter pins for this. I just use R-clips because it's what I prefer. And so now we have an upgraded plunger system. The only other thing I want to mention is that MED does sell a really nice set of lockout nuts here. So we're going to just go ahead and put those on. We're not going to put them to spec yet because, well, we can't. Pretty quick update. You can do this in car as well. It's obviously much easier out on the table, but you can see this arm is going to press the clutch in so it sits like that. When you press your clutch, it gets pushed in like this. Pretty straightforward. Let's throw it on the engine. Now, something I want to mention is that in the past, I have heard some people, and I actually really like the way it looks, but functionally, it's not so great. I've seen people replace these with those cap heads or with the Allen key bolts, and they look so nice. Like, it's totally undeniable, but unfortunately, that kind of bolt, specifically in these bottom 3 holes, is basically impossible to get out when this is in the car. And so that means that if you put those cap head bolts on, you're pretty much guaranteeing that you are not going to be able to replace the clutch with the engine in the car, which is kind of inconvenient. You know, if you ever had to replace the clutch, you want to be able to do that inside the car. All right, so I have to pause the video right there. We are taking a slightly different turn with the intercooler setup as well as the pipework that's going to be running the cooling system, or I should say the cold side of the turbo. And that is not quite ready to film yet. I have a ton of stuff that I'm going to show you guys. The next episode related to the engine is going to be really, really exciting. It's going to introduce a few products that are only just launching on the market. I'm one of the first 2 people to have this on their car, which is going to be really, really exciting. I can't wait to show you guys. And I have a few other odds and ends that I need to talk through. There's a lot of details going on the front of this engine. As you can see, my alternator sitting up here. I've got some stuff going on with the oil filter housing down here, oil line for the turbo, boost controller, all sorts of different stuff. All of that is going to be covered in the next episode of Classic Mini DIY. But that is going to wrap up this episode. Remember, if you guys want to pick up an RTS clutch for your setup, we have those on the store available right now. So you can pick up one of those and have it to your door within 2 to 4 weeks, depending on our current load. But it's something that I'm super excited about. I wanted to share with you guys in this episode, and it's part of why I wanted to go ahead and wrap up this episode, because if we waited for the rest of these things here, it'd probably be February before I get to be able to show you guys that stuff. So anyways, that's going to wrap it up. I really hope you enjoyed this episode, and if you guys have any questions whatsoever, feel free to post those in the comment section below, and I will be happy to answer those for you. Anyways, until I see you in the next episode, you guys know the drill. Enjoy those minis, and motor on. Thanks for tuning in. See ya.